All right, my hair looks great. We can go live. Talking about supply chain security, offline and online. So we had a big supply chain security event offline this week too. What was this big thing that happened this summer? This is a huge attack, and it was from Polyfill.js. So super important point, when websites are built, a lot of it's copy paste all the time. So if you've seen a million websites that look like we do it, here's a website that uses the copy paste. And what a lot of web front-end websites are using is called Bootstrap. It's really easy to use. It's got all the bells and whistles. So here are the little components that are on basically every website that you're looking at. They've got the same fonts. They've got the same tables. Have you ever seen a table that looks like this? Are these colors? Have you ever seen these exact colors before? You're using a copy paste from Bootstrap. This is one of the many, many copy pastes that are out there that make your job super easy, and you go from idea to published. I'll give you another one. Here's a website. This whole thing uses copy paste styles. All this is just copy paste. The buttons are out of the box, and all the buttons are out of the box with these little badges. You ever seen this badge before? The icons are copy paste. Now, there's one of these templates. There's different ways you can use them. You can download it, you can drag it into your project, or you can just copy this one line of code. So now we're talking about style, but there's also features on your website, like this little thing. You ever seen one of these? Light mode, dark mode, auto mode. Right, this little thing going on, and it remembers if you like light or dark. And one of the ways you do it is called linking. So what you do is you make a project, and then you link to the code, the style or the JavaScript or whatever, somewhere else. And here's the wrong way to do it. You just have this little thing called a link on your website, and then you say the code that you want to get, and you say that it's a style sheet. That means the style, the colors, the fonts. And then your website will now have that style. You can do it for JavaScript too. I'll show you a JavaScript example. So you've got this line that's called script. That means it's a JavaScript. And again, here's the wrong way to do it. You just have this one line that says, go get this script from this other website. If you're publishing a website and there's a piece of code on there that says, go load this code from the other website and shove it in here, what is the risk? What is the risk of that? You do not need to be a programmer to know this answer. This is a common sense thing. Let's hear it.
Something bad can get on your site.
How?
The information that you're getting for your site was replaced with something bad.
Do you know the answer? Did you look this up?
No.
You added a really smart keyword. You said replaced with something bad. Can you walk that back?
Oh man, it's not replaced?
No, you're absolutely right. But you added you added the word that was so right and so on the money that I think you almost cheated.
Oh. Because you wanted to get the one reference from that website, and your website is saying, hey, go get that thing, thinking it's correct, but it was replaced with something else and now it's bad?
That's completely right. So at the time you designed your website, there's this thing, and it was good, and you wanted that. But then later your website, that thing changed. You went to bed, and then while you're sleeping, bam, that thing changed. And now everybody's getting that other change thing.
No good.
Absolutely. There's other things you could have said that would have been right, that there's something in, I looked at it, I knew what I was getting, but there was something unexpected inside of there that I didn't test for. Could have been that. We're not talking about that. We're talking specifically about it was there, you liked it, you agreed on it, and then they flipped the script. Now that exactly happened here for something called Polyfill. There's a couple of times when this has happened. We've actually studied one of them before, famously. So it's even got a Wikipedia page. That's how you know it's bad. There was this little software. If you've got some words like hello, and you wanted to put some spaces before the word, so it kind of drags out the word to be longer, like to a specific length. Like you want all the words to align on the right side, so you have to hit space a few times to make them align on the right. There's a software for that, super simple to do, and it's called Lpad. It adds padding, spacing, to the left. Well, somebody got this software, and they hacked into the account of the person who released it, and they made it do a very specific thing. Instead of padding the left of your string, it did that. In addition to that, it also checked if your keyboard was set to Russian. It checked if your IP address was listed in Russia, and if it was, it just deleted your whole computer. So it did two things. It padded the left of your string, and it deleted your computer. And this was happening during the beginning of the Ukraine war. So this was a political protest buried inside of a software exploit, buried inside of formatting words on the screen. And it happened again recently. Very high profile here. And this one is called Polyfill. But Polyfill is a super common piece of JavaScript. What it does is it takes all the stuff on all of your websites, and if you're using Internet Explorer or some old browser, what it does is it just takes that code, writes some other code to sort of make it work mostly on the old browser, and then it puts it through. So it's actually pretty popular for enterprise websites because enterprise uses old computers. And so you just drop this little thing in there. For most websites, it does nothing. If you have a new Chrome and you load a website with Polyfill when it's working properly, nothing happens. Lots of people use Polyfill on their website, and they do it the wrong way that Ellie told you is the wrong way. So they put it on their website, they're like, this works, and then they leave it there, and then all of a sudden, somebody bought the Polyfill company or the account or whatever, and they published something new. Now this is built in everywhere. Google uses it, Google Maps was using it, all kinds of websites. We're talking, if not billions, a large portion of billions of people were affected by this. Because a lot of these people did not use the best practice, which Ellie's going to tell you soon. Every one of these people needs to solve it because it's their problem. If Google made a mistake when they used this thing, it's Google's problem. It's Cloudflare's problem. But all these different companies, it's their problem because they used it wrong. Ellie, knowing what you know about supply chain security, what is the solution to this problem?
Not having it go search to grab something from another site.
That's the first one. You download it onto your own website and you serve it from there. Now, be creative and see if you can find the second solution.
Would there be a way for there to be some sort of like verification or like check that could catch these bad things when you go to retrieve it?
Yes, but that's obvious. So tell me specifically what kind of check.
Oh gosh, I don't know what kind of check. Maybe that the thing you are trying to retrieve is actually what you're getting.
Boom. You are a programmer, right?
Now I am, I suppose.
Ellie is fully certified as a programmer. So let me show you what Ellie's looking for. So you've got the link here. You can know where the thing is. You know what server to get it from. You get it off the internet, you pull it in. But there's this thing called integrity. And the integrity specifies what it is you're expecting to find there. We use this thing called a hash. It's cryptographically secure. But basically, this hash will allow you to verify that the content did not change. But it has some trade-offs. The good thing is that when you put this piece of code on your website and you put this integrity, it means that when people visit your website and they load this thing, they're going to get the version that you got when you loaded it. And if that version is not available or if it was modified, the page won't load. It's like a 404. The bad part of that is that sometimes there are these, I think they're terrible websites, where they intentionally want the code to change. Google does this, Stripe does this, Facebook does this for sure. And they're like, okay, put this Facebook thing on your website. And they specifically tell you, we're not going to tell you what the Facebook thing does. We're not going to tell you what we're going to do with it. You just put it there. And the benefit for us is that if we want to change it to a new Facebook thing that tracks you harder than it used to, then we can do that. Now, Ellie, expert, why do you think some people would want that?
It's easier for them to
That's
have
right, it's
whatever
easier.
the updated widget is.
It's easier to update. Ellie, you are on fire. You understand that? What's going on is that maybe you fully trust Facebook and you don't care what they change because you know they're probably not going to do something too invasive or illegal because they'll maybe get sued. That's right. Or you just don't care. You just don't care. I've got a few notes for you in the show notes here where we talk about this. One of them is Google Maps got hit by this. So they add this whole warning about this. So many of our JavaScript samples previously included Polyfill, and we've removed it. I have to tell everybody, sorry, we endorsed them. We were wrong. Okay, so that's one way that you can fix the problem, is you just put out a warning. This is like, I got one of these here. My kid, somehow, from some company I don't even recognize, it says, your kid, she got her first data breach. She's 3. So she got a data breach. They said they lost all of her medical records, all of her billing information, her social security number, and everything. And they're offering free credit reporting. Okay, so that's kind of like, Google's like, yep, sorry, bro. You're on your own. Instead, Google Maps should do what we do. When we found an error with GitHub Pages, we went and found everybody that's affected. We told them, we called them. It only took us 10 people for a few hours on this phone call. We did it live. You saw it here first. And, Google doesn't even have time for that. All they do is they just put this little thing right here. And then that's the end of it. They're like, okay, we are absolved. Okay, that's on one end of the we don't really care spectrum. Let's go to Cloudflare. Cloudflare is a very large platform, and what it does is it's a front end to websites. But you will not need this until you are well into your B round of funding. Cloudflare, they said, okay, well, this is your problem, this is our problem. That's how you know this is, What they did was every website that ran through Cloudflare, you've got a website, you run Cloudflare on top of it, so nobody accesses your website directly, they access Cloudflare to get a copy of your website. What they're doing is as they're copying your website, so they're adding the integrity line and serving a good copy of the file. Bam! So they're rewriting all the web pages on the internet to fix the problem. Like we're doing good. We're actually helping people, we're being useful. So this is great. Here's the whole story. They put out a nice blog post that explains it. Back in February, there was a website that had Polyfill. It was sold to this other people, unknown company. We were concerned. At the time, we were concerned. I'm going to click that to see. This is in February, and they're already talking about the risk in February. They're looking at ahead of time, right? So as this came up, they were already sensing, the spidey sense was like, oh, there's this super important thing that everybody's using. They sold out to somebody that we've never heard of, and they did it quietly. And this could be a risk. So they were 4 months ahead of this. They were already spidey sensed out. They blog posted. We can see the blog post on the same blog. So can we give a shout out to Sven and Michael? Let's go. These people are ahead of the game, publishing, preventing you. They are the superstars of the internet, unlike Google Maps. Yeah, definitely public service here. This is like community service, gold star. So I'll go into a couple other angles on this. So I've seen this a few times. I'm also actively looking at this. I'm going to leave you a note in here. I'm going on GitHub. I'm finding people that are making this mistake. Like Stripe does the same thing. If you swipe payment cards, you have to make sure that all the payment pages, all the scripts need to make sure there's integrity. Now, Stripe is a payment company, and Stripe does it the wrong way. So basically, nobody is allowed to use Stripe. So yeah, Stripe closed the issue. They're not going to fix it. Why? Because Stripe likes the ability of just changing whatever their software is on all the websites at the same time. They like the power. Screw you, we want the power. We're not going to give you the option. Google Fonts does the same thing. I opened an issue there. Somebody already opened an issue. 79 people started. Same thing. Google's like, it'd be too complicated. We want to make it easier to update our fonts. When's the last time you saw a font get updated? So we're like 0 for 2 here on Google as a company. Here's another one, digital analytics program. Okay, so this is the software that runs on all US federal government websites. All US federal government websites. 18F is a nice hacker team inside of the Government Services Administration that helps the rest of the government move forward digitally. Here's my issue. Same thing. They said, nope, too confusing. We're not going to fix this. And we're just going to leave it. So every US federal government website is attached to Google, and Google can just install any code on any of those websites at any time. And so we're just waiting. We're just waiting for one of these websites to get hacked, and then every US federal government website, including the IRS, all of them get hacked at the same time. And again, here's my spidey sense. Here's how I address it. I didn't make a blog post. I actually found the people that are responsible, and I told them, and then they closed it. They're like, we're not going to fix this. I do this over and over. This is something, a lot of crypto projects, they do it the wrong way, and I open issues, and I tell them. A lot of times they close it. Sometimes they're like, maybe we should fix this. And then either I fix it for them and they merge it, or they pick it up and they work on it. This is a well-known issue. It's all over. So that's software. We also, this week, had a physical supply chain attack. We're going to talk about Israel. Sorry, we don't know if it's Israel. Somebody implanted a bunch of pagers. I don't know who's using pagers, but a whole bunch of these pagers exploded at the same time across Lebanon. How did they explode? Well, some people are like, oh, it was a software issue. No, software issues do not make all the pagers explode at the same time. 9 people dead, 2,700 people wounded. It's not like an off-the-shelf, this is not a normal pager, right? That's what I'm trying to tell you. These pagers were premeditated. So the pagers were designed or whatever, and then interdicted into the supply chain, and then they were given to the specific people, and then they were set to explode either at a certain time or when something specific happened. These are the same situation. Under the JavaScript, you've got the JavaScript is imported into your software, your web page, and you're not using the Ellie approach, and it explodes, and your website, you're hacked. So let's ask our resident supply chain correspondent, Ellie, how do you prevent all of the pagers in your country exploding at the same time?
Maybe don't buy pagers that have secret stuff put in them.
That's a pretty good one. So don't buy pagers. Well, that's a goal. That's not a thing you can do. Okay, let me give you some assumptions here. Let's assume that there's a pager company, Motorola. I had a pager. I got suspended for school from having a pager. Let's assume that Motorola only makes good pagers. Okay, there's a factory in Japan that makes Motorola pagers, and they don't have C4 explosives. And you are somewhere, and you're buying Motorola pagers. How do you make sure that the Motorola pagers you're buying do not have the C4 explosives in them? Go, Ellie.
Gotta follow it from the factory and make sure they don't get swapped out.
So you can track them. This is supply chain tracking, supply chain traceability. At the factory, you watch them somehow get to where you are. Pagers are what, 20, 40 bucks, my first pager? So following something, I just mailed a letter, it was 40 bucks using FedEx. So getting a pager, just tracking it is going to be pretty expensive. Give me another idea. Let's pretend that you can't control how it gets from the factory to you. Let's pretend you cannot control that.
Oh gosh. So we don't know how. We know it's good at the factory. We can control how we get it there. I guess, can you pop some open when you get them?
You can audit them, so you can check some of them. So you can buy 1 million of them, you randomly audit. This is actually what they do at customs. They want to check and see if they've got cocaine in these things. So they'll pick a few and they're like, oh, no cocaine, looks good to me. And then they let the rest go. And if you imported 1 million of them, and they're like, we're going to check 10 of them randomly, and we're going to let them through fast if we don't find any cocaine. You're like, good deal to me. Because if you've ever had your stuff stuck at customs, that sucks. So yes, Ellie, this is one approach. Give me another one that's not destructive. So if you want to pick the 10, you got to rip them open. Maybe there's another approach. I'm going to grab a beer. I'm going to give you a minute.
Is there like a software type test thing you can put it through?
Okay, you can plug in a wire and you can maybe test the software. More ideas?
Yo Dude is speaking. I don't know if you can hear him. He says the weight of the speaker.
That's one of them. That's right. You can weigh it. So beepers are supposed to weigh this much, and if it weighs any different a number, even a little bit different. And I'll give you another one. This one's harder, but what you do is inertial. You do an inertial test. You take the thing, AirPods Pro case here. What you do is you take a specific spot anywhere on the thing, and you put that corner on a clamp. It's really easy because you just line them up. So you make a clamp, you line it up to this specific spot so that that's in the middle, and then you measure rotational inertia. So you spin it and you look how much energy it takes to spin the thing. I know it sounds weird, but it's a little more effective is because the weight, people know you're going to weigh it. So what they'll do is they'll put a little bit more C4, a little bit less, and they'll line it up to the exact weight. But making the rotational inertia match a target product is very difficult. So these are the different approaches. Basically what you're doing is hashing. This is the same thing we're doing with software. What all this testing, we can test we ask the factory. They're like, how many grams? They're like 200. You check 200. You ask the factory, what's the rotational inertia? They tell you. You check it. What is the only thing this does not help you with? So at the end of the day, if the factory's in on it. These are really powerful concepts. We can use them, and Ellie also said the traceability, if you ship it. But I will tell you that the NSA specifically, this has been declassified. NSA has been known to take Cisco routers. You buy a Cisco router, they will take it off the truck on FedEx. They will hire the FedEx driver or hold them up or whatever the hell they do. They take it off the FedEx truck, take it out of the box, put a different one in the box, seal the box, and then ship it to you. This is what they were doing to spy on Americans. So again, the only solution here is to work with the vendor. And again, you have to trust the vendor. You have to work with them. That is how you avoid getting polyfilled.